So welcome to Hacker Refactor's Byte session at the CoLab. We're grateful to Adam for granting us the privilege to gather in this space and to use it for all sorts of professional development. Thank you for remembering to bring your best selves to these sessions and for continuing to practice inclusivity in STEM. I'm Nathan, a member of Hacker Club, and we're glad you're here. We hold these events to provide a space for the students of computer science to practice all sorts of skills together. Things like teaching our peers about a topic we're excited about, public speaking in a welcoming space, and showing up for people. Showing up for people helps us create a sense of belonging, which is our goal at Hacker. And these skills we're practicing help us better succeed at inclusive excellence, a vision we share with OSU. Byte sessions serve as inquiry and collaboration for your professional development that is due each term. If you're interested in doing a presentation yourself, come talk to me afterwards. This week, we're excited to welcome Cody Swartz. He is a software engineer at Uptech who is here to show us our next weekend hack stack. Very bold of him to assume I have weekends, but I'm excited to hear what he has to say regardless. So please help me welcome Cody. Thank you. Good to go. What were you saying about the overlays over there? What if I make a weird face? I won't know. Perfect. So this is all your base are belong to us. I don't know if you know that meme. Somebody at work gave a kickoff to it. They went into like this huge spiel, and I'm like, they know more about it than me. This is nuts. But we're gonna skip that for time's sake. Condensing this from like a 1-hour talk to a 30-minute talk. So we'll see, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it. It all depends how deep we want to dive into like the live example. That's always the most dangerous. So this is your weekend hack stack with Svelete and Pocketbase. We're going to dig into a little bit of why I use them, why did I choose these, and just kind of what they accomplish and what you can do on the weekend with the hack project. So here we go. Yeah. So it's all about that base, no trouble. We got Pocketbase and we got Supabase. When I was first digging into this, I was checking out kind of the space of, okay, what does Pocketbase accomplish? What does Supabase accomplish? What are the pros and cons between them? And then there's that third guy, Firebase, that everybody knows and loves, but they give you vendor lock-in, your prices go up quickly, and they seem to have pretty similar offerings. And then just shrugging out, I didn't do a super deep comparison of them, but for instance, Supabase, you get like $25 a month, you get 100 monthly active users. And as soon as you like start scaling that up on Firebase, you're like, wow, now I'm at $230. This is crazy. And that's just scaling up the monthly active users. That's not scaling up how much data you're using or how many like hits. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. Oh yeah, much better to spend that money elsewhere. And both of them have like their free tiers. I'll dig into that a little bit more, but yeah, maybe it's great for a weekend hack project, but as soon as maybe it starts growing, it could get out of control. So a comparison of just kind of Supabase and Pocketbase. There is a free tier on Supabase, but they also have this $25 a month per project. And then you also get, I think, a 1 GB instance. You can also host it yourself, but it kind of has this like crazy Docker backend with like all these little microservices. So it's like, maybe you don't even want to worry about that. So you can just use their free tier and let it be up in the cloud and not worry about that, which is nice. I also haven't ever tried like going that step of like hosting it yourself, because with Pocketbase, there is no pricing. They're like, just do it yourself, have fun. It's one of our frequently asked questions. I imagine it's only a matter of time before somebody either creates a cloud solution for it or they offer their own just to get some money flowing for them. Then let's see here. So digging into the hosting side of things, there's render.com. You get a 512 instance for $7 a month. Not very expensive, but they also have like per user pricing, which seemed weird. You also don't get any free persistence on them. It has really easy deploy, so pretty much you're like, oh, if I have a Docker config in my project, they're like, cool, we know what to do. Like, we'll host it for you. So It's also great for static deploys as well. Fly.io, I don't know that I've seen that low of a price. I think there's also Vulture that goes down pretty low for a 512, or they have 256 instances. But they also include persistence in their free tier. So if you have some type of database or something you want to save between reboots, that's nice. Then Pocketbase really pushed you towards this Hetzner. It was super affordable, but it wasn't US first. So maybe I was looking at the wrong currency. And they did not have very many regions. So it just really seemed like they had East and West Coast in the US, where a lot of these other services, they have their like global network. So it's like, we're going to get you fastly delivered to your clients, no matter where they're at. Or just skip it. It's your weekend hack project. Like you don't have to host it. You just want to make a proof of concept and verify it's going to work for you. So here's the stack that I kind of dug into using SvelteKit. That's going to give you your, if you want to build like a single page app or server-side render, and it handles all the routing that Svelte doesn't just kind of do out of the box. So it's nice. It's the kind of like how there's next to what is it? Next to React. So it's very similar in terms of like how it handles routing and all that magic. Tailwind is just a CSS library that's supposed to make your life easier. It's been a love-hate relationship, but it seems to be, still everybody's using it. So I'm like, let's just keep doing it. And then Daisy UI it builds on top of Tailwind and gives you like, instead of building out like 20 classes on a button to be like, yes, I have the perfect button, you're like, just give me the button. So it kind of feels more like Bootstrap if you're used to it, but it still isn't going to give you, it's more of just a styling library. It's not going to give you interactivity like a carousel, like you would expect from Bootstrap. And then Hero Icons, I think it's actually created by the Tailwind group. So it just kind of all plugs in together, which is nice. Hero Icons also has, I think I linked later, but they have a lot of different flavors. So if you want to, or actually there's a library I find later, so we'll get into that. So why though? Why Svelte? Gotta go fast. You get to try something new. So if you haven't ever tried Svelte, like it's kind of been on like that back burner thing in my mind that people talk about, but I've always just been stuck in like React land or using whatever. But people are like, oh, it's so easy. Like just look at their examples. It's like 3 lines of code versus like 20 lines of code in React. So why not? So I figured if it's something you can learn in a couple of days, then, pass the tests. Maybe that's what your whole weekend is just learning Svelte and Pocketbase. But hopefully the next weekend, then you launch your next startup. It's less foot gun heavy than React. So React seems to have a lot of ways to shoot yourself in the foot. So it's like, oh, well, if you put it in this, this After Effect, this effect, and it's trying to update the state, you're going to have a bad time. Like, don't put async code in there, but you gotta. But when I was looking into this, it's pretty fast. It's got fast tooling, fast spin ups, and then fast dev. It's also using Vite. Apparently, you're not supposed to say Byte. It's supposed to rhyme with feet. But apparently that's the new hype on the block. Who knows if that will last for, a couple months, a year, or if it's going to take over Webpack. I don't know if it's written in Rust because, sometimes that's a requirement for people. And a nice thing about Svelte is there's a ton of adapters. So if you want to just deploy to static HTML or Node or Vercel or Netlify, there's like a ton of support for it. Got Dino in there if you're into that new hotness, want TypeScript first. WordPress, I was pretty surprised about that, but there's a huge community around that has tons of adapters that have been written. Let's see. This is a quote I took from their website, stole it. So they're saying it's all in. You can either go all in on Svelte, you can incrementally start switching your project over to it, or you can even have standalone like island components. So you don't have to like go all in. So it's nice that you can start somewhere on that granularity. And then the other thing they were touting was that they try to follow web standards. So rather than like reinventing the wheel and being like, oh, I know React, it's like, hopefully you can learn Svelte and apply that to just throughout your coding or other frameworks you might work with, which is nice. So spinning up a new project, always make sure you're on the latest node, but not odd versions, because odd versions don't have long-term support and they're supposed to be buggy. So just stay away from them. Had a coworker being like, why is this all broken? I'm like, you're on 19, got to be on 18. Then you want to update NPM and NPX. It's just always a good practice to make sure that your dependency tooling is ready to go. And then to just get started with Svelte, it's as easy as npm create Svelte latest project. You can get that tattooed on your arm so you don't forget it. Easy. And then it will walk you through what you want. Depending on time, we might just look at that really quick, but it's kind of nice because it will ask you, like, what are you trying to accomplish? What kind of do you want to use TypeScript, JavaScript? So it'll walk you through that. Let's see, a project structure. Can probably show that later, but let's just click on it, see what madness it gives me. Yeah, this it's a cool tree diagram, but I would rather look at some fancy folders in VS Code, so we'll look at that later. And then it will ask you when you're spinning up if you want to use the Vitus. I don't know how to say it. But apparently it's supposed to be really fast testing. A lot of people reach for Jest, but maybe that's the next best thing on the block. They're both based on Mocha, so they use a lot of the same kind of verbiage. So if you're used to having like describe blocks and it blocks, it should be fairly similar. And then to add Tailwind and Daisy UI and Svelte, there's also a command for that, which makes it really nice. So it will actually like look at your project and be like, cool, you're starting on a new project, or maybe you're adding these later on. But it sucks when you spend like a whole day just trying to get your scaffolding up, or like you're fighting TypeScript or you're fighting your backend, and that's kind of where the stack shines. Oh, here it is. So Steve's UI icons just rolls right off the tongue. Oh, it looks like I need to enhance. Okay. Hopefully that's visible. I think it changed my DPI when we connected to the screen. So the nice thing about this is they have, like I was kind of pointing at earlier, or I said I would hold off on it, is you choose kind of like what framework you're working with. So if you're in React or Solid or Vue, Lit, Svelte, so you choose the base package, and then there's icon packages. So we went with hero icons, but there's also material, feather, simple icons. And then it kind of allows you just a nice, easy way to, you import your base package and then you import the icon, and then they just plug in together and it just works. It's magic. It's great. So, and they're giving a Svelte example. Perfect. And then let's see, then shipping it. Well, it's not really shipping it, but getting the dev environment up and running, just npm run dev. Nice, easy peasy. Quote unquote, spinning up Pocketbase. It's really just a single executable that you download and then you run it, like super easy, magical backend ready to go out of the box. So you gotta unzip it, run it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, cut it, check it, technologic. And then it's as easy as just running Pocketbase serve. My last live demo was exploding because I had that Pocketbase exe in the same directory as my base repository. So when I was importing the Pocketbase JavaScript, it was actually trying to import that binary, and it was blowing up. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is this happening? So don't let that happen. And then you'll have to add some git ignores. Show those a bit later. So I guess this is where I go into somewhat of a live demo here. I wonder if it's still running. Let's see. Also, I had a pad in my pocket so I could try to make sure I don't miss on some points. Okay, so let's bring up the good old VS Code here. That's a little bit small. Oh, that's too much. De-enhance. All right, so let's see. So here's kind of the project structure. Last week I was trying to flatten this out because I feel like I did this backwards. I first downloaded Pocketbase and then I ended up creating a Svelte project. So it's like hiding in this directory, but I'd like to flatten it out. So with Pocketbase, you get a data folder and a migrations. You'll want the migration scripts committed, but the data, it actually secretly runs on SQLite. So it's portable, easy. Some people are like, no, you can't do stuff on SQLite. It's it's not a real database. But that's where Pocketbase is like, nope, we're written in Go. We use wall mode, and it's just super fast. One of the things to point out is that Pocketbase doesn't really scale horizontally yet. So it's not like you're going to run like multiple instances of it, but it does scale vertically right now. So as your need goes up, like, oh, I need more storage, I need more CPU, you're going to just scale up that single instance. That has its limits. So hopefully, I imagine that's something they're working on. I think they have a roadmap, and that's probably in there. But it's also nice too, because you're like, oh, how do I dump or back this up? I can just copy this folder, I could zip it up and share it with somebody, just good to go. Let's see. So let's see. Git ignores Pocketbase. I just had the zip in there. Here's the executable I brought out, and then let's see here. So we're just going to do the good old Pocketbase serve. So this gives us a RESTful endpoint and admin UI. They also provide a nice library, so you really don't even got to like think about the REST side of things, which is great. So we'll open this up, and then more enhance. So just out of the gate, you get this users table. And I have already created a user in here. When you first boot this up, it's going to run you through just creating your admin account, and then it just kind of throws you into this dashboard with the default users table. Going into here, it comes with, there's these system fields that you can't change, and then there's name and avatar. There's also, for every table, you get API rules and options. So in API rules, this is where you would say like, okay, I only want a user to update their own like posts or their own record. So this can gate it there. Pocketbase also allows you to, if you want to extend it, you can actually go into Golang and start putting in all these hooks they have. I haven't played around with that, but it's a nice escape hatch if you need it. And then let's see. So there are two different types of tables. So there's a user type table, and then there's just a non-user table. Kind of run through a quick table creation after this, but we get different auth methods here. So we got username, password, email password. There's also OAuth. I have not set up any providers on here, but it's super quick and easy, or it kind of depends on the integration. But like, say if I wanted to allow people to log in with GitHub, I would go into GitHub and create a new app. It would provide me with a client ID and secret. I plug them in here, and then it allows you to kind of get that auth flow kicked off and going, which is really nice. There is just one thing to note, which I think they mention in here, is that maybe they don't mention it here. Maybe it's hiding. Oh yeah, it's right here. So if you have always require email, there are some OAuth providers, I think like Twitter, that won't provide you with the user's email address when they're signing up. So that can butt heads where you're like, oh, we OAuthed you through, you logged onto Twitter, but we don't have your email. So that's one thing to just be aware of. Let's see here. So if we're creating a new collection, we'll just say like, oh yeah, we'll just do posts, like it said. So it gets the base fields of ID created, updated. Then if you want to add like a new column, there's different types. So we've got plain text, number, email. I mean, email is normally like just a string, but I imagine it probably adds some additional sanitation and just validation there. Let's see. There's also relations. So if you want to say that this belongs to, let's see, user ID, or maybe we just call it the user. And then we can say, okay, that belongs to the users table. Awesome. Then there's also non-empty and unique. So there's all these different kind of standard constraints that you'd expect to have with a relational database. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier. So for the different types of tables, we got a base collection and an auth collection. An auth collection just brings in these additional fields, and I'm not sure why you'd want more than one auth collection, but you can do it. Auth collection also gives us that extra options where you get to configure that, but both of these have these API rules. By default, only admins will be able to do any of the like CRUD app operations on this table, but you can also come in here and say, it's everyone can come in here and create stuff and edit it, or, depending on what you want to do. So this is just to list, let's see, view, create, update, delete. So you got all your different CRUDs, and then show available fields. So you can check all these crazy things. I haven't really super dug into this, but it seems like it's really powerful. It's just kind of nice that you get this, like, feels like you're getting a backend for free without having to like write code for it, which is really nice. Close that. There's also logs in here. So like earlier, let's see. I'll show it. Or if we, I guess we're kind of tight on time a little bit, but like earlier, I was trying to create a new record, and I'm like, why is it exploding? And it's like, oh, password confirmed cannot be blank. I haven't written any front end to like show that to the user to be like, you're messing up, you got to fix it. But and you'd probably do that in kind of I was saying that you don't have a backend, but SvelteKit allows you to set up API routes if you want to do that, or you could just write a completely front-end application as well if you wanted to, just statically build it out. And then kind of settings in here. Got all these good old things. There's mail settings, so they tell you, they're like, you should probably do this. So it's nice. We were working on a project at work where it was like a pain to change verification email templates, and here you can just come in, drop your HTML, good to go. They give you some variables you can tap into as well. I haven't actually seen these because I haven't hooked up a real mailer, and I don't think the internet's going to let my device, maybe it's going to spam, or maybe Mac doesn't have it set up. They also have file storage. Let's see. So by default, it will use your local system, but if you want to use S3, voila, you can have that. They have this export and import. So this would just take like your current snapshot, but like I was saying earlier, you could just copy that data directory. So I'm not sure exactly what this would do where that wouldn't. Auth providers, believe it's open source, so I keep seeing new auth providers come in here. Like I've never heard of Git or there's all kinds of stuff. So if you have some auth provider, you can write it and probably get it added to their list here. And then token options, that's just kind of your auth shenanigans of how quickly you want their tokens to expire or renew, or all the fun shenanigans. And then you can also add additional admins that can log into this panel, which is just this underscore route. So I guess for the rest of the live demo too, let's just see. So that was kind of the back end of Pocketbase. We're going to do npm run dev here. Backend's running, get the front end running. So here was just a quick little like auth app. So unless it breaks, live demos, what could go wrong? Test2 at test.com. Let's do it. Okay, that was a bad password. Don't use password for your password. It does actually, I think, require 10 or 8 characters, so it's a little good. Set it so it would automatically just log you in as soon as you sign up. But if we go back to the tab I just closed, we should now be able to see that new user. I think it was, yeah, that one. Yep, so it's this one that was just created. Awesome. You can change their password if you want. Can choose them, say if they've been verified or not. These accounts aren't verified because they haven't like opened up their email and clicked the link, since that's on right now. And I believe during your auth process, you could choose to look at that and be like, hey, we're not going to let you process until you do that. So back to here a little bit. Let's see, 3 minutes till we're at the half-hour mark. Nice. Oh yeah, one of the really nice things, so this migrations folder, if I go back into, I just keep going back to Pocketbase, it's just so exciting. So say if I was making, posts, and we're gonna just say that there's like a title, cool. I'm done with that one. We'll say that there's a user ID, and that's a relationship to the users table. Sweet. And then there's going to be some, good old description. Is there any other type thing? Rich editor? I'm not sure. Maybe it supports some little bit of HTML or Markdown in there. All right. So if I get out of here, okay, hit create here. We now have it over here. But if we go and check in our migrations, it auto-magically wrote a migration for us, which is fantastic. Writing migration sucks. But say if I commit this up to the repo and then somebody pulls it down, as soon as they start running their Pocketbase, it's going to make sure that it applies all the migrations from wherever they were at in that point in time, which is nice. I'm not sure that you'd ever want to really come in here and change anything. And this really kind of forces you, I guess, to not be doing like only doing structural changes to your database rather than injecting rows, which some people do. Some people are against that. So different subject for a different day. I guess for a last bit here, just kind of digging back into Svelte land, we have a routes directory here. There's the main app, which kind of just bootstraps it. The app DTS, we have some local variables. So expose the Pocketbase and the user is kind of like global variables that you can access throughout these different pages and routes. So it looks like, okay, so maybe this is the base route. This is the layout. So this is giving us just kind of our scaffolding, like our logout, the header here. You've got conditionals here. So just if current user, we're pulling that in from, it will auto prefix, like this was kind of new to me, having these $signs. So like, let's see, register. So we've got, this is one thing that people either love or hate, or they're kind of on the fence. I'm on the fence with it right now because I haven't played around with it a lot, but the Svelte kit wants you to follow this like naming convention. So it's always this like plus page Svelte, but then this one is going to be server code. So like this is the registration that exposes an endpoint in Svelte kit so that when you're creating, we can actually connect to the Pocketbase and create that user without doing that on the client side, which is nice. So if you have secrets you don't want to expose to your clients, it allows you to do that. I imagine there's some deployment that would push these up to kind of cloud functions, or there might be special deployments that just, or you can just run the whole Svelte server. But if you didn't have this server backend, you could also just build out a static app. So here's kind of what the registration page looks like. Just kind of quickly running through here. There's this cool enhance deal that comes from the apps forms that was included at the beginning. This gives you progressive forms. So like if for whatever reason the person didn't have JavaScript, this form would completely function as usual, which is really nice. But the progressive form kind of Ajaxifies it, if you will, so that you can continue submitting without like refreshing the page. Let's see here. I'm sure I messed up something in here, but I guess this one didn't really have a data store. Oh, maybe I was going to start a counter. I guess not. But I guess for time's sake, that's probably a good stopping point. Definitely, I guess one last thing is like Svelte has a lot of examples to just kind of go through. So like their hello world, they're like, okay, all you gotta do is create this variable here. And then you can just echo it out. Styling, if you want styling, you just put a style tag. So they follow this pattern kind of like view where you have your styling, your rendering, and your like JavaScript or TypeScript all in one place, which you either love or hate. But it's kind of refreshing just to, it feels like very just vanilla JavaScripty, I guess, to just define a variable and name it. And then like looking at like, where is their stores? So I guess this is like having a store that's shared. So each one of these is its own different component. So like here's the decrementer. So it just is a button with that, and then on click, it calls this function, which calls count.update, which wraps a function and just decreases it by 1. It's getting this count from the centralized store that they're all tapping into. So it kind of, that feels a little advanced, but it's like nothing too crazy. Like you just need to use this writable for a store and export it, and now you have this magical shared store that you don't gotta think too much about. All you gotta do is import it. They also have really nice type ahead and type safety. So like, since we instantiated this with a number, TypeScript will make sure that you continue to use a number when you set it here, which is really nice due to the generics. But yeah, I guess for your next weekend hack project, if you're wondering, you don't want to spend too much time scaffolding a project and you just want to run fast, give SvelteKit and Pocketbase a try. Any questions? Hacked on what?
Like, what is something that you really would?
I haven't actually made anything with Svelte, so I'm I'm a pretender, I'm a faker, I'm lying. But
So proud of you.
What maybe next weekend or this weekend, my crazy idea was like, there's the standard to-do list. So I was like, okay, let's back that up on a Pocketbase. And then I wanted to just make like, we kind of have a tool at work already, but like, it's like a to-do list, but then it has an output to like, you could integrate it with Slack and just stick it into our stand-ups channel, but it takes your to-do list and like lets everybody know like, hey, this is what I'm trying to work on today, or this is what I've done, or this is what I did yesterday. So I was like, it'd be cool just to like make the standard to do, but like integrate it with Slack, or at least it could just give you a, markdown and just copy and paste it into a channel. You might have to do that manually, V0, but I thought that could be like a fun weekend hack project. I think last time I did a big hack project, it was like creating a Discord support bot. So like getting the little window on a website, and then you'd be like, hey, I need help. And it would spawn a thread in Discord, and then somebody in there could like respond back in that thread, and it would go back to the website. And that was like, it was just a really awesome, like little 2-day project. So those kind of things where you're like, I just wanted to keep doing this. But one thing is like TypeScript right now, it's like, it's still a pain to like get it going from the ground up. Maybe that's why you want to just run to Dino. Or there's a lot of front-end frameworks that kind of have like TypeScript out of the box, but a lot of times they're like, do I really need a front end right now? So that's where we kind of got to pick and choose that. They say once you go TypeScript, you never go back. Oh, I can hear myself. I don't know if anybody's saying anything on the stream though. So TypeScript is just really nice because once you start defining kind of like your like structure, your interfaces, like you're like, okay, this value is always going to be a string, or it's always going to be a number, or maybe I have like a bigger idea of like a user that has posts and all these other things, and a post has all these other fields. So it gives you a lot more integrity. If you're like working in VS Code, you might start getting kind of like autocomplete. So if you have your JavaScript running against a TypeScript server, it can actually like kind of give you some of the TypeScript magic. But at the end of the day, I just feel a lot more comfortable shipping TypeScript code because it's going to tell you a lot of the problems before you ever get to building or production or whatever. So
TypeScript, but you were thinking of going back to JavaScript. I'm
The nice thing is that TypeScript is also a superset of JavaScript. So any JavaScript you've written is like, it's TypeScript, it works. TypeScript also gives you, way back when in the day, like JavaScript didn't have classes and you had to really do these like janky things to get a class. I feel like it was just like a year or two ago that they started introducing like private properties. So it was nice to just hop into TypeScript, and coming from like C# and Java, having actual like, oh, this is a private method or public or protected, or like TypeScript to me just feels like C# plus JavaScript had a baby. So it was like comfortable for me, but I know that's not a lot of other people's kind of route they've come from. Where was I going with that? But oh yeah, it was just, for me originally it was that TypeScript offered a lot of like features that JavaScript just didn't have at the time. So, but JavaScript's like slowly catching up. I don't necessarily like that they use the octothorpe as a private modifier for class properties. I don't even know if people know about that one too much, but like classed, what if we do class person? So like you don't even gotta do private, but like that's how you'd create a private property of like a name and a person. It's kind of weird. You can also do like, if you had like, oh, full name, that would then be a private method. But then if you instantiate a person, you wouldn't be able to get access to those, or it's maybe mainly at like the runtime might still let you get to them too. So you're like, why does this actually exist? What's going on? More questions.
My last question is, why would you go with like render or fly? Like AWS.
What? I think it's because I was looking at primarily like virtual private servers. And a lot of times there's not really like free offerings. Like Heroku kind of went off the block with their free offerings. I'm not sure how much AWS offers. I don't know if that would be their like their Byte sale or whatever they call it. I can't remember, but maybe an EC2 instance. So, but I'm sure just where was it? Who was it? So all these different adapters. So I'm sure, I think I already saw an AWS one. Am I lying? Is this lazy loaded? Yes. Well, I guess I swore I saw it. I wrote about it. Well, now I'm just lost. I don't even know where am I? Who am I? But I'm sure that there is just a Svelte kit for science kit, AWS. For science. Basic setup. So yeah, it looks like it will know how to kind of handle the whole S3 and the lambdas, I guess. So that's where I think if you had like this would act as a lambda or cloud function, which would be nice to just have it publish that for you when you run like the publish command. But yeah, I haven't checked into this, so I'm not sure how frictionless it is. I imagine it should be fairly simple. So fingers crossed.
I have I don't know, it's a question. I don't know. So I'm in operating systems and I'm learning C. And as a form of therapy, while learning C, I was like reading through the beginner docs of TypeScript. It sounds like a wonderful place up there. But I was just kind of curious, what does web dev without JavaScript look like?
Web dev without JavaScript. I mean, so for the most part, like I guess you just have like very static websites. If you want any type of like client-side interactivity, I was going to say the browser doesn't really give you too many options. We're finally getting into like the WASM side of things, but it's probably been a while since I've.
WASM is WebAssembly.
Yeah, so WebAssembly. So ideally, you should be able to like write in a different language and bring it to the front side, but there's still probably going to be some level of like a JavaScript binding to like
Okay.
surface that, to my understanding.
So like even if you're not writing in JavaScript, it becomes JavaScript eventually.
Yeah, that's some rule of the internet. If it hasn't been written, it will be written in JavaScript, eventually. So that's also the rule of Rust, but it's not written in Rust. You got to write it in Rust.
So that was more of a like, it's not like an inevitability. It's more like people are as determined to make that true.
I think like the big thing, like at least for the node ecosystem, you've got the whole NPM. I already have it up right here, but the whole NPM ecosystem is just like so huge. So that's like really where it shines. Dino didn't have the NPM ecosystem, but I think they're kind of beta bringing it in right now. So they're like, we just got millions of packages, like you can do it. So it will be interesting to see how that kind of works. That's also reminding me too, TypeScript, it used to be really frustrating back in the day where it's like, if you didn't have typings on everything, it would just like kind of blow up. I think it's gotten a lot easier to work with, or you'll see like packages here where it's like, oh, this has a TypeScript definition. So like it'll work in your TypeScript project easy peasy. So that's nice. Because it used to be a big blocker where you're like, we have to have jQuery, and jQuery wasn't TypeScript, and well, now we just can't use TypeScript. So question?
Yeah, using stuff like a lightweight environment, like it's great for a weekend project or whatever. Would you go this route with anything that you're planning to scale up, or?
When like kind of talking at work, it was like, I probably wouldn't go like the Pocketbase route. Like I would not want to like hand this off to a client and being like, oh, this is still like pretty beta or whatever. Like we spent all your client money building this thing that nobody knows. I think like for a personal thing, or like maybe I might use it on like your own personal startup to just like see how far you can scale. Or it's like, if you finally got to that point where you're like, okay, it's not scaling. Maybe that's the point where you're like, okay, we're backed with money. Like, let's just rewrite it in this other thing. So it sucks if you're going to like burn it up, but you also don't want to spend, a week or days just like setting up that scaffolding either. So I think it's valuable just to like, it's like, I have this idea, let's just try running, for the weekend. So. Oh yeah, I don't know if I finished on your question. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. It was just a random thing I wanted to ask.
But yeah, you can't escape the JavaScript ecosystem on the browser. So unfortunately, but maybe your backdoor is the WASM side of things, but I haven't reevaluated that. So
Gotcha. Thank you.
yep. Any other?
Well, thank you, Cody.